Hey guys, this is Austin. OnePlus has been making some of my favorite phones for quite a while. Traditionally, you get a great combination of good specs and flagship level features at a price that can be hundreds of dollars less than the competition. That is where the OnePlus 6T comes in. It's definitely a good phone, but it does not revolutionize the formula. If you're familiar with the OnePlus 6, then you know the basics of the 6T. Inside, you'll find that same Snapdragon 845, which has been in almost every major flagship of this year, and that is paired with either 6 or 8 gigs of RAM and 128 or 256 gigs of storage. This is as good as it gets right now, but it is no longer a unique selling point. Previously, OnePluses were some of the cheapest phones with the high-end specs such as the Snapdragon 835 or 845, but nowadays you can pick up a Pocophone F1 that is going to be several $100s cheaper than even the OnePlus, and it has that same spec. It's good, it's great to have in a phone like this, but it is no longer some huge revolutionary feature. It's just kind of what everyone expects at this point. One of the most noticeable changes is the notch. It is significantly smaller than not only pretty much anything else out right now, but it is right alongside the Essential phone, which over a year later actually still has one of the smallest notches that we've ever seen. If we take a quick trip from Garbage Town up the road to Notch City, we'll find an interesting evolution of OnePlus phones over the last couple years. So the OnePlus 5 was the last phone with the full-size bezels, which were significantly shrunk down on the OnePlus 5T. Come to the OnePlus 6 and the notch is in full effect, which thankfully is a lot smaller on the OnePlus 6T. It's also a very slightly larger display at 6.4 inches as opposed to 6.3, and that applies to the entire OnePlus 6T. It's a little bit thicker, it's a little bit taller, and it's a little bit wider, and it is definitely on the larger side of smartphones. The display itself is a nice looking OLED. In fact, not only is it fairly bright, but it is one of the most accurate OLED panels we've tried, right up there with the iPhone XS. You'll also find something pretty rare, an in-display fingerprint sensor. Now, gone are the days of having a fingerprint sensor on the back or on the home button. Instead, it's actually inside the glass. It properly works too. So this little green icon right here, if I put my thumb on it, it will immediately scan my fingerprint. Now, to be fair, this is not a perfect setup. It does seem to be a little bit slower than a traditional fingerprint sensor. And I did notice that it is a little bit more prone to being slowed down or tripped up if you have any kind of dirt or dust on the screen. But generally speaking, it does work and it works well. There is a face unlock option, but unlike something more sophisticated like the IR cameras on the iPhone as well as the Oppo Find X, this instead relies on just the front-facing camera. It's quick and it's reasonably accurate, but it is nowhere near secure to me as just using that fingerprint sensor. Inside, you will find an upgraded battery. Before, we had a 3300 mAh cell, whereas this year we've gone up to 3700 mAh. Now, I haven't spent enough time to really give it a full run through, but based on at least early impressions, it is pretty easy to make it through a full day of use with the 6T. Unsurprisingly, OnePlus is stuck with their very stock looking Oxygen OS software, which is based on the latest version of Android 9 Pie. Now, the good thing is you have a lot of nice small customizations that doesn't totally overhaul the look. For example, the alert slider we all know and love is still here, which will allow you to easily mute the phone. I really don't understand why lots and lots of other people haven't just stolen this. It's just super useful. What you won't find is a significantly improved camera. Now, it is slightly better, so it's mostly in the processing and the software side. Specifically with portrait mode, it's a little bit better at cutting things out of the background. And there is an improved night shot mode, which will get you a little bit of a better low light performance. But generally speaking, this is decent, but nowhere near as good as the Pixels and the Galaxies of the world. Hey guys, this is the story behind the internet myth Polybius. The speaker sounds decent, but importantly, it's just that, a single speaker. It's 2018, and basically all other flagships have switched over to a stereo setup, which not only sounds a lot better, but importantly, isn't easily covered. I mean, all you need to do is really put a single finger over the speaker and it totally kills the volume. Personally, I wouldn't mind a bigger notch if it meant that I did get those stereo speakers. Audio quality on a phone is really important to me. Speaking of, the OnePlus 6T finally drops the headphone jack. Now, this isn't exactly a huge surprise, but it is a downgrade over the OnePlus 6. To be fair, you do get a USB-C headphone dongle in the box, and the battery is slightly larger because of this, but rest in peace, sweet jack. We also still don't have any official water resistance. Now, you would think that by removing the headphone jack that would make it a little bit easier to water seal this guy up, but nope, it's still completely not okay to put this near even a single drop of water, or else your warranty stickers will go screaming in agony. Speaking of, while we do still have a glass back, the 6T still completely omits any kind of wireless charging. This is a really weird choice. Usually when you go from metal to glass, one of the main reasons is to get you a little bit of an easier target for stuff like, say, I don't know, wireless charging, something again is on almost all 2018 flagships, and yet it is nowhere to be found on the OnePlus 6T. The OnePlus 6T is a terrific phone, and yet it's not really much of an upgrade over the OnePlus 6. In a world where the Google Pixel 3 is a true flagship, it's really hard to call this a flagship killer. It's a great mid-range phone, but that's okay.